Hello, my friends, and welcome to this special article that I've been given. And this article has been submitted by Sheena Marie Bach. Now there's one thing that you have to admit: certain crossovers go great together. This is one of them crossovers that most deem questionable because of the lineup. And we're here to go through this lineup and perhaps share a bit of what I would consider should be thrown in the lineup as far as everything else is concerned. So this is about Disney princesses as Final Fantasy classes, which, like I said, two great things that go together. You got Disney and you got Final Fantasy slash Kingdom Hearts. Now, as we look at the following, we see all the known Disney princesses from Snow White to Brave with Princess Merida or Merida, however she's pronounced. We're gonna go through every one of them, and of course, if you feel the need to say something about this, please do, and I do mean do, share your feedback about this because this is something that I would feel pretty interested in having a discussion with, since it is about Final Fantasy and Disney. Now, when I first saw this article, I was really just I was just looking through it, and throughout my recording, throughout my recordings that I've been doing for say next week, um, I just been like going through this. I've also been sharing this with my friends, and there are some things that just seem questionable about this, and we are going to go through them right now. We've seen many iterations of Disney princesses, but nothing like this before. Artist Cal Ash, previously known as Gears, has added a Final Fantasy twist to the lovely Disney ladies by designing each princess with a character class that best represents them. Princesses include Tiana, Mulan, Pocahontas, Jasmine, Snow White, Aurora, Ariel, Cinderella, Belle, and more. So, which is your favorite? Well, let's take a look, shall we? The first we have is Tiana as Lancer, aka a Dragoon. Now, clearly, I have my doubts at this. I mean, really, um, I can't see her as a Lancer or a Dragoon. Really, there's so there's so many, and I do mean there's so many classes in the Final Fantasy universe that you've seen too much of or haven't seen too much of. And I feel that if anything, I don't know. I mean, I don't think she's quite cut to be a Lancer. I mean, like I said, this is personal preference. This is out of my personal preference. But I don't think she's quite. I don't think she is for use as a Lancer. Anything else, like if she was like a gunner or something, a bard, something that kind of makes sense. I would deem that, but her as a Lancer, I'm not entirely certain. I'm not saying it's bad and I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying, to be quite honest, I'm really not certain about the Lancer part. So, yeah. That's what I honestly think. I am uncertain about this. Like I said, please, if you have any feedback about this, do help yourself to this. Next, we have Mulan as a monk. Now, I do remember that in the movie, Mulan was a very gifted swordswoman, posing as a man, but still, she's more gifted as a swordswoman. So I would see her more as a warrior than that of a monk. Or in this case, I would see it as this. If given a choice to like veer off to say like Final Fantasy V, we'll just go with this Final Fantasy V skill tree. Um, if she was in my party, if I made a party of nothing but Disney princesses, Mulan would start off as a black belt, then a monk, then a warrior. Or rather, no, she'd be a fighter first, then a warrior. Because, like I said, if I had a choice, I would start her off as a black belt to monk, and then and then just because she can show off her skills as a swordswoman, make her into a fighter, because fighters usually use weapons of that nature, swords and whatnot, and then make her into a warrior. That would make a lot of sense. So that's how I feel about it. It kind of makes sense. Like she would have a lot of power behind a lot of power behind her strikes. I believe that. I believe that she would have a lot of power behind her strikes. So therefore, it would make sense if that power kind of like was directed one way and directed another way, but both did the same kind of power, the same kind of striking you would see out of out of a Final Fantasy character, especially since a monk is basically a pure power class job. Then therefore already you got pure power and you got pure balance. So I would say she'd be a monk slash warrior. Okay, moving on. We have Ariel as a red mage. Ahem. I know a resident weirdo red mage would like to have some words with Ariel, the Little Mermaid, if she was a red mage. Let's see. Well, there's one thing she would have in her arsenal already, and that would be water. She would already have water and ice in her arsenal. The thing about red mages is that if you're playing a Final Fantasy, if you're playing classic Final Fantasy from say 1 to 5, if you're playing through that for 1 through 5, then you should know the red mage is technically the rookie class of the other mages. Like you have the white mage, black mage, red mage, and blue mage. Which is funny because I haven't seen a blue mage or a time mage yet. when I was looking through all these, while I was thinking of something to talk about, seeing this, um, let me just say that, as I said, the Disney universe pales in comparison to the Final Fantasy job lore. And the thing about the Final Fantasy job lore is that it's gone way past what we already know about it. Like, say, if you were playing 14, there'd be a bigger display of jobs than you could ever imagine. Sure, you see the classic jobs, but you would see new jobs being available. Also, on top of that, I should also say that ever since 1 through 5 and then 10 2, those were the only times we actually ever saw, the job system. Aside from 14, A Realm Reborn, those are the only games that I know that still have the job system. Because if you remember, 6 did not have the job system. 7 did not have the job system. 8 did not have the job system. 9 didn't, nor 10. 11, we're not even going to talk about that. 12, we're not going to even talk about that. 13, what the fuck? And then we reach A Realm Reborn, which is 14. And then from then on, then on will be Type O, I believe. Type O, which will be, like, I think the new Final Fantasy. The new Final Fantasy is called Type O. And, actually, like I said, it's a whole different kind of job system now. But for Arrow, truly, yeah. I would see her mainly if she was in combat. Mainly, she would be the magic tank. She would tank a lot of magic damage, and perhaps give about a straight balance of how much damage you would do as a certain mage. Because red mages give out decent damage. White mages do not do any kind of damage whatsoever. They're only good in curative magic. Black mages, you dead. Time mages, their only good use is for time, like haste, slow, and stop. Anything considering that you can just basically manipulate time with, you could do that. There's also the Geomancer, which controls the land and whatnot. But come to think of it, Ariel might be good as a Geomancer as well. She already has she lives near the sea or around the sea, so she has that in spades. So that's a good thing. So she might be well more suited as a Geomancer if the red mage doesn't work for her. Next, we move on to Snow White as a white mage. Okay, clearly, I see where they were going with this. And I had to say, Snow White as a white mage. I could definitely see her as a white mage. Because technically, she would be the healer of the group. It's perfect. She is the healer of the group. And she's not going to be in combat, not like with the rest of the princesses in combat. She'd be the one who'd be laid back as the nurse of the group. It's like she would have great power in using Curaga, Curaja, and region. She would have access to most of the curative spells throughout the job lore of the Final Fantasy universe. But I think she would stop at region, because if you give her life or life two, um, I don't know. There's no telling. But I would think personally she would stop at Kiraja, which is Cure 4. She will also have access to Holy, so that's another thing too you have to consider. She is like the purest of all the princesses. I mean, if you ever seen Snow White, you know that she's the most beautiful of all, and most and the Wicked Queen didn't like that, so she had to kill because of her beauty. So you can tell a lot, and I do mean a lot, can be said about Snow White being a white mage. Next in the Damsel dossier is Jasmine as a summoner. I don't know. And we kind of talked about this last night in Rio's stream. Um, Jasmine as a summoner, I do not think so. Because first off, I don't see her much as a summoner. I mean, she has a tiger. I mean, unless Aladdin just gives her the lamp, or the genie's willing to go with her, in which he would. Um, I don't know. Her as a summoner? No, I don't think that will work. Because already we know we've already established that Aladdin's a thief. Jasmine, I don't know. As a summoner, it's hard to tell. Because Jasmine is more like a wild card, if anything. It's like she's like freelance. I'll put her in the freelance section. One moment. Oh, my apologies. House duties and everything. Anyway, yes, I'm partial house. Uh, yeah, I'm partial homemaker. So, anyway, moving on. As I said before, Jasmine is, to me, a wild card because she's basically more like a freelancer. You can put her in any kind of situation because, yes, a freelancer is a job as well. They forget that. So, basically, you give her anything, it will kind of work. Just don't give her summoner unless, there's a way she could do that. But, funny, I don't see Paladin on this list. Moving on. Kita from Atlantis. A Dark Knight. If at all it makes sense, there's your Dark Knight Paladin. Now, from all the mess that she has gone through in that movie, she has every reason to go Dark Knight. She has every reason to go Dark Knight. She can't just stay 100% Paladin. No, you got to be Dark Knight as well. So I would think, switch from Paladin to Dark Knight. Dark Knight when necessary, Paladin when necessary. I would think she'd be perfect just to be 50-50. Because you just can't be like 100% Dark Knight. And you can't be 100% Paladin. So I would say, as this depiction shows, she is perfect as both half and half. Dark Knight and Paladin. I really don't have much to say about Atlantis because I don't know. It's like the Disney version of Bioshock. I don't know. I mean, it's like you have to really get into it, but that's one of those movies that I never really got into. So there's that too. Let's see. Moving on to something I kind of know. Rapunzel as a thief. Okay, we got Rapunzel, who has long hair. And the entire time that she has this long hair, um, I couldn't picture her using it as the magic lasso and she's Wonder Woman and she's like, the lasso of truth will just make you, the lasso of truth will make you tell the truth. And only the truth. Now, let's see. As a thief, I don't know. As a, because you're talking about Rapunzel here. I said, okay, she's been in a tower for such a long time, and the only thing to her that she has as a boon would be the long hair. All she needs is somebody to come save her with that long hair. Or if that hair is pretty damn powerful and nobody's there, hell, find. I'm just gonna be stupid here, but find a tree, lasso a lock over to said tree. If you have a pulley, if you have a pulley, you can just basically just put the pulley. If you or better yet, if your hairpin was a freaking pulley, all you would have to do is like take off your hairpin and just like put yourself in some stupid ass way in which you can just pull yourself across from away from the tower to civilization to your escape. Yeah, sure, your hair is gonna be fucked up, but you know that's okay. And what is this? She has a frying pan and a bag of and a bag of something, possibly a smoke bomb or something. But I don't know. Rapunzel as a again, I have to say there's some things that just don't work out because of the situation. It's like with Ariel, she could be a good red mage, it's not because of her hair, or she could be a geomancer because of because of her terrain. That's what a geomancer does. Uses the terrain around themselves just to give an advantage through battle. It's like, okay, she can use this, so that means she can basically call for her father, and basically, bam, it's over. But Rapunzel as a thief, I can't say because once again, she's another character I would put in as a freelancer because, like I said, depending on the situation, she's better suited as a freelancer. Like I said, I'm giving my personal opinion about this, but as a freelancer, she could do so much more because she don't have to be just a thief. I say, if anything, hell, make her a ninja. Make her a ninja. That's what I would say. If you gotta pick something, pick the one thing you never would expect. Like, give Rapunzel the ninja job. She'd be that much more useful because she's been captured for a long time. She needs a skill that would help her escape, like a smoke bomb or something like that. If it helps her escape, bam! All she has to do is drop a smoke bomb, run the fuck out of there, bam! Or at least leap out of the tower, bam! Civilization. Because sometimes you don't have to wait for somebody to save you. You gotta save yourself. And next on the dossier, we have Belle as a Beastmaster. This works. Because to think about it, you're living with the Beast. He has he has all his servants. They're under an enchanted spell. When the time is necessary that he has to go kick ass to defend the one he loves, namely Belle, she's going to step back. She's going to tell him what he needs to do, and that's it. She will remote controlly tell her target what she needs to do, what he needs to do, and go after it. So, Belle as a Beastmaster, it works. It works. Next, we have Aurora from Sleeping Beauty as a Black Mage. Okay, first off, um, despite all the stuff that she went through, I would approve of this. I would approve of her being a Black Mage. She would study the Black Arts and Magic just because one of her fairy godmothers, I do believe is Maleficent, I would think, okay, she would study the dark arts and magic just because, okay, Maleficent did all this shit to her and her family and everything, cursed her and everything else. She would want vengeance, but she'd be elegant about it. She wouldn't be, you know, vengeance sated about it. That's what I feel. She would actually use the powers of um, the fire spells, because as you can tell, the black mages or the black wizards, they would have access to all offensive spells. So she would have access to the fire spells, the ice spells, the water spells. She would have access to, say, wind, thunder, um, meteor, comet, meteor or comet, same thing, or anything else of that matter. She would use that power so much. It's like, okay, all she would need to do is like cast, say, fire, Fira, Firaga, or Firaja, or water, Watera, Wataga, or Wataja, or however it is. It'd be water 1, 2, 3, 4. Or say she can use arrow, so it's like Ero, Erora, Eroga, Eroja, that sort of thing. And she says I'm somewhat of a master of Final Fantasy. I don't know about that. I only know the lore. That's as much as I know. I only know the lore and the spells of what Final Fantasy has. I'm not really a master of Final Fantasy. I just know enough just to explain what needs to be said. That's all I gotta say. But thank you though. Yeah, Aurora as a black mage, it would work for her because she has a drive to be a black mage, and it's perfect drive, and she would not use those powers unless if totally necessary. I mean, the prince is one thing. The prince can the prince can take down a dragon. That's no problem. But as far as magical combat is concerned, I really would have liked it if the whole thing came down to magical combat. I mean, truly, I wouldn't mind if there was magical combat involved, especially in a movie that basically you use magic to basically enchant people to sleep. You basically put a barrier around the castle made up of thorny plants. You technically had to wait for somebody to get through all that shit, and it took a while, but still, you were protected by magic. So it would be right if Aurora took that power in her hands after she woke up. She would still have her prince, but she would be more on the offensive than the defensive. And now we move on to Cinderella as a paladin or a paladin. My friend, my Big would say paladin. I say paladin. But anyway, Cinderella as a paladin. Huh. This I gotta say is pretty hard to tell. I would imagine in the Kingdom Hearts world, if she had a choice to go into battle, yes, paladin will work. In fact, like I said, if all the princesses were in the Kingdom Hearts world, it would actually work because they would be more on support. Some will be on support. Some will be assist. Like most of who I mentioned, they will either be offensive support. They will be offensive support or defensive assist. So it works both ways. Like say Mulan. Okay, she can switch from being a monk to a warrior. She'll be offensive assist. Or if you had someone like Snow White, she'd be defensive support. She would be defensive support, whereas you got offensive assist. But like I said, depending on the situation, if Cinderella was thrown into the Kingdom Hearts universe, I could see her as a paladin, just like I would see Kita from Atlantis if she was in the Kingdom Hearts universe. She'd be both. She'd be a Dark Knight and a paladin. Because it's possible to do that. It's Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy lore. You can do that. If you go by 1 through 5, 10, 2 rules, you can actually switch if need be. Pocahontas as a warrior. Uh, hmm. Pocahontas. I don't see her using an axe. Tomahawk, yes. But I don't see her using an axe. Honestly, I'd see her more as a ranger. Reason why is because rangers in most RPGs usually have a very knowledgeable base of their surroundings, especially if it's a forest. So you want to have somebody knowledgeable in the area that they're in. Pocahontas as a warrior, I don't know. She's already a warrior. But I won't. I don't. I really don't see her as a warrior. I will mainly see her more as a ranger than a warrior. Because really, I would say this. Yes, you're a ranger. That means you can still do the same thing, but you're kind of more knowledgeable. You're more knowledgeable and fairly balanced in offense. But I would rather have someone like a ranger in my party. If it was a different Final Fantasy with a Final Fantasy cross dimension with something else, and you have job customization, I would brand her as a ranger, just because she would have a finite amount of arrows, but a good finite amount of arrows. At least she would start off with 50. She wouldn't start off with 10. She would start off with a nice quiver of 50 arrows. And the only thing you would have to do is just get a longbow. A longbow or crossbow or something like that. But still, I would pick her more as a ranger than a warrior. And then we go down to Meridia as an archer. Yep, that's about right. In Brave, she has dead aim. It's like, okay, you're a daughter of I think he's a Viking, a Viking, and you've been trained in the art of combat since you were small, and you have no fear, no fear of the unknown, no fear of beasts or anything like that. You can understand. Yes, yes, you be an archer. An archer, she be dead on. She would crit with just arrows alone. She don't need anything else but arrows. Just a big finite amount of arrows. She would do so well as an archer. Let's see. Eleni and Sally. A necromancer and a guardian. Okay, first off, one is from the Black Cauldron. I think that's Eleni. Oh, Eleni. Or something. Eleni. Yeah, she's from the Black Cauldron, I remember. And Sally's from the Nightmare Before Christmas. I have to say, yes, they both work. They both work on both details because it's a perfect fit. And even if you were to swap jobs with them, it'd still be a perfect fit. Because they can both work off each other very easily. And since they both work off each other so well, there'd be no problem with, them swapping jobs. Like, Sally could be the necromancer and Eleni could be the guardian. And vice versa, so it works both ways. Because they're both with, because if you remember the Black Cauldron, that was a dark Disney movie. And it's probably one of the first ever PG movies that Disney ever made and that was animated. So I don't have any more to say about that other than it works both ways. Now this one does not make any sense whatsoever. I think this is the last one, yeah. This one makes no sense whatsoever. Nala from The Lion King. Okay, first off, I'm going to repeat what I said last night about this. Nanaki doesn't count as a class. For you see, Nanaki is more like a name. Nanaki is more like a name. It doesn't really have... It's basically just a tribe. Like, you have Red 13. You have Seto. You have Bugenhagen. I forgot what the mother's name is. But I know what they were going with this. But the first thing is, Nanaki is not a class. If anything, I would say Nanaki would be more like the name of a tribe. Or the character's real name. Like Red 13's actual name is Nanaki. Or his name, or he might be Red of the Nanaki tribe or something like that. But Nanaki is more like a name or a title. Whereas, it's like this doesn't count as a class. I don't see how they did that. I really don't. I don't see how they did that And the fact remains, okay, Nala could be anything. But don't say, oh, she's a Nanaki. So what the hell is a Nanaki? A Nanaki, it's not a class. Unless if they made one up, that would kind of make sense or not make sense. Your preference, not mine. I have to say, I don't know how they managed to pull that off, but I'm not gonna say nothing. Y'all can figure that shit out on your own. And lastly, we come to the most overblown, overrated part of the Disney universe. Elsa and Anna Geomancers. I haven't seen the movie Frozen, but I've heard too much about the goddamn song just to know that you have to let it go, let it go, let it go, and I am gonna let it go because it hurts my head. I mean, it's just about two sisters. If they control the elements, I know Anna controls the elements, so that would kind of put her in the spot of being a geomancer. Elsa, on the other hand, I don't know what she does. Unless she realizes her power and she too can do the same thing. But that's beyond. But that's way beyond my understanding, though. Although I had to say, I'm surprised they didn't put in any other jobs that there are in the Final Fantasy lore. I mean, there's so many jobs out there that could work or could not work. I mean, for most part, for Nala, I would say she'd be freelance. Nala will be freelance. Definitely, she will be freelance because Nanaki doesn't count as anything. It's more like a name. But like I said, this is something that I had to share because I've been putting this article off long enough as is. My apologies if I hadn't done this sooner, but you know how it is with me, life and everything else. Been busy and all. So that covers everything, though. I feel that covers everything. So if you have any kind of feedback at all about this, or anything you feel that should be deemed better than what I shared, leave it in the comment section. And do not forget to share this on either Facebook, Twitter, or whatever else you have in your personal social network. Until next time, I have been the Tenkaichi of Gaming and Otaku PI7, and I will see you next time with more videos. Until then, take care, God bless, and of course, Tenkai Muso.